Okay, I'm going to solve two-step equations. So the first one I'm going to do is 7x plus 9 equals 58. So I'm just going to kind of draw a line to represent my equal sign. Whatever's on one side, it's equal to this side. So if I do something here, I got to do something here. So my goal is to get that x by itself. So the first thing I'm going to do is to be able to get this by itself, I need to get rid of this. So to get rid of that, I need to subtract 9 because I have plus 9, so the opposite is minus 9. So I'm going to subtract 9 on this side, and I'm going to go ahead and write it right here also. So I'm just going to draw a line right here. 9 minus 9 is 0. I can put plus 0, but we really don't need it. That's going to leave me with 7x equals 58 minus 9. Okay, I could go ahead and just borrow. That's going to be 9, so I'm going to have 49. Now I'm saying I have 7 of these x's, so I want to know what one of these x's is. To do that, I'm going to have to divide into 7 groups. So 7 divided by 7, 49 divided by 7. Okay, 7 divided by 7 is just 1. Okay, so that just becomes 1. That's like 1x, and 1x is the same as x. X equals 49 divided by 7 is 7. So x equals 7. Okay, now I'm going to do a harder one. I'm going to do x over 5 plus 7 equals 16. So again, my goal is to get the x by itself. So what I need to do is first I need to get rid of the 7. To get rid of the 7, I'm going to subtract 7. So I'm going to write it on both sides before I do anything. I write it on both sides. That cancels out. 16 minus 7 would be 9. And that's x over 5. So I'm saying x over 5 is equal to 9. This is saying I'm dividing it by 5. To get rid of it, if I'm dividing by 5, to get rid of that, I need to do the opposite of division, which is multiplication. Okay, so I'm going to multiply that by 5 because this is really like 1x. And if I multiply it by 5, like 5 over 1, 5 times 1 is 5, 1 times 5 is 5, that's 5 over 5 is 1. So this just cancels it all out, and I'm left with x. But if I multiply that side by 5, I have to multiply this side by 5. And 9 times 5 is 45. Wow, that was a lot of work. What if I made a mistake? I wonder how I could check that. I can plug that back in to where x was. So that was there. So if I plug that into where x is, that means that's going to be 45 over 5 plus 7 equals, let's see, let's work it out. What's 45 over 5 means divide. So 45 divided by 5 is 9. And then I have 9 plus 7 is 16. Yep, that's what it equaled, so I am correct. Okay, I'm going to do another problem. I'm going to do 13 minus 4x equals negative 11. Okay, again, the first thing I want to do is get rid of, I want this variable to be by itself. I want that x by itself, so I got to get rid of this 13. That's positive 13, so to get rid of it, I have to subtract 13. So that's negative 4x equals, now here's where I have to be careful. This is a negative, and then I have another negative. So since they're the same signs, I'm going to add them, and I'm going to have a negative answer. So that's really going to be negative 24. Okay, because if I'm adding two things that are negative, then, then I just add them and keep the sign. So now I have negative 4x equals negative 24. I'm saying negative 4 times x. To get rid of that, I have to divide it by negative 4. So divide by negative 4. That gets 1. Divide by negative 4. That's going to leave me with x equals, I have a negative and negative, and when I'm multiplying and dividing, two negatives make a positive, right? So that cancels out. 24 divided by 4 is 6. So x equals 6. Okay, I'm going to do another problem. I'm going to do one with a fraction again because we love fractions. Or maybe we hate them, but I love them. So I have x over 2, like x divided by 2. I could also, just side note, I could also write that as 1/2 x. That's the same thing. 1/2 x and x over 2 is the same thing because this is like 1x. Okay, just a side note there. I want to get rid of this, so I have minus 12. Y'all, minus 12 and plus a negative 12 is the same thing. So to get rid of it, and if it helps you to just say plus a negative 12, do it. That's fine. To get rid of that, I'm going to add 12 because that'll cancel it out. So if I do that, I got to do it over here. So that's going to leave me x over 2 equals, these are different signs, and if I'm adding them with different signs, I really subtract and take the sign of the bigger absolute value. So that's 14 minus 12 is 2, and my bigger one is the negative, so that's negative 2. So now I'm saying x divided by 2 equals negative 2. Well, I have to get rid of this. So to be able to do that, if I multiply it by 2, that'll cancel it out. So I'm really saying 2 times 1. Okay, 2 over 1. So that cancels it out, and that just leaves me with 1x. So that's x equals, and what do I have to do over here? I multiplied that side by 2, so I need to multiply this side by 2. And negative 2 times 2, 2 times 2 is 4, but I have a negative and a positive. Since they're not the same sign, it's going to stay in negative. So x equals negative 4. Do we want one more? Let's do one more problem. Which problem should we do? Okay. We're going to do x over negative 3 plus 11 equals 8. Okay, so to do this, I got to get rid of this 11. So it's saying adding 11, so to do that, I'm going to subtract 11. Go ahead and write it over here. That cancels out. So I have x over negative 3 equals, I have a positive 8 and a negative 11. They're different signs, so I'm going to subtract them and take the sign of the bigger number, or the bigger absolute value, really. So that's negative 3. So it's easy to look over here and say, hey, look, negative 3, that's just 1. But wait a minute, I'm saying x divided by negative 3 equals negative 3. So I have to, if I'm saying it's divided by negative 3, to get rid of that, I'm going to multiply by negative 3. Why negative 3 and not just positive 3? Because if I'm multiplying or dividing, if I have two negatives, it makes a positive, and I want a positive x. So I'm going to multiply this by negative 3, and that cancels out. So I multiplied that by negative 3. That leaves me with x equals negative 3 times negative 3. That's two negatives, so that'll turn into a positive when I'm multiplying, and 3 times 3 is 9. So x equals 9. I'm going to do one more problem. And my next problem I'm going to do is negative 8x minus 15 equals 25. I'm saying minus 15. The opposite of subtracting 15 would be adding 15. If I add 15, that cancels it out. So plus 15 plus 15. That cancels out. So I have negative 8x equals, I'm going to add this together because they're both positive, so I don't have to worry about the signs. And I get 40. So now I'm saying negative 8 times x equals 40. So I want to know, what am I multiplying negative 8 by to get to 40? So to figure that out, I'm going to divide by negative 8. Again, negative, so I can get that x to be positive. Okay, that cancels out. So I'm left with x equals 40 divided by 8 is 5. And since multiplying and dividing, if their signs are is different, then it's negative. So x equals negative 5. And I hope you're feeling a little bit more comfortable with two-step equations. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe.